This podcast is sponsored by Great White Hot Sauce. It's a small batch, handmade hot sauce, made specially for you. So if you like hot sauce, you'll love Great White Hot Sauce. It's the hot sauce that bites back. Find it at www.trygreatwhite.com. Did you know that Jimi Hendrix created the song Little Wing in only 145 seconds? Well, now you know. I mean, there's being in the zone, and then there's having superpowers. Well, on this episode, more mixtape talk. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. So sit back and give it a listen.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
The KOFB studio presents Milk Crates and Turntables, a music discussion podcast hosted by Scott McLean with his co-host Jack Calabrese. Now, let's talk music. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Amanda, for that wonderful introduction as usual. Welcome to the podcast. I'm not going to say the name because you're listening and you're watching, so you already know. But if you like the podcast and you're a return listener, a habitual listener, share it. We would really appreciate it. Share it, like it, comment on it, on whatever platform you're listening to it on. And if you're on YouTube and you're watching us, because right now we're live streaming over Facebook and YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, and share. We would really appreciate it. So, tonight's episode, another mixtape, I call it. I call it mixtape episodes. Just straight conversation about music. So, without further ado, let me bring on my co-host, the can of mixed nuts with mixed emotions, who's always mixed up, my friend, Mr. Jack Calabrese.
Hey, what's going on, Scotty?
I'm a little mixed up tonight.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Play mixtape for me. What's going on? What's happening?
That's the right off the bat. That's the best you have.
Hey, I didn't know you were going to do
a long hour.
Hey, I'm ready to mix it up.
Hey, now he's back. All right. Let me do a little adjustment here. Give me a minute. And, this is live streaming, so here we go. All right, I'm back. I'm in the zone now. So, yeah, I think tonight, like I said, a little mixed conversation, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You ready to do a good show?
I'm ready to do a good show.
All right, buddy.
Hey, by the way, congratulations. I saw on CNN 3,500 downloads. Not bad.
Yeah, yes. You watch CNN? Is that a confession?
I was flipping through the channels. I was looking for SpongeBob.
Yeah, we hit 3,500 downloads, and that's good. That's good. I'm happy with that. We're not even at 30 episodes. And it's a slow climb, but it's a consistent climb. And every week we get a couple more viewers here, a couple more viewers there, and someday we'll be big boys. Someday we'll be there. So let me start off. I'm gonna spitball some. Let me see. I'm gonna spitball some groups at you, and tell me what you think. All right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Styx.
Classic 70s corporate rock band. Some good hits, some not so good hits. Some of the early stuff really kind of rocked. Renegade, Fooling Yourself, Come Sail Away. Even I remember walking around with my buddy Jimmy Barker when we were kids, and the first time I heard Lady, I thought that was just an amazing song. Like, I don't even remember how old I was. But then they take a little bit of a left-hand turn. The Paradise Theater, Rockin' the Paradise, Too Much Time on My Hands. They played that video on MTV relentlessly. Just drove me nuts. Drove me crazy. Babe, tough song.
Babe was one of those junior high dance songs, right?
Yeah, and then the song, or then the album that they were really known for, which is really unfortunate, is Domeo Regato, Mr. Robato.
I'm going to touch on something later on, but that is definitely on my list of worst songs ever.
God. There's I remember watching like one of those rockumentaries where the band had just had it, and when they were on that tour, it was more of a play, I guess, or a musical than it was a rock concert anymore. And they played some festival like down in Texas, and they ran late because of production issues and whatnot. And you had, I don't know, 30,000 Texans that had been drinking beer all day, and then you had these robots and these guys in like leotards running around and whatnot. And the rest of the guys from Styx were like, what the fuck are we doing?
Wow, that was Dennis DeYoung.
Yep, it was.
He always wanted to be like the theater guy.
And he was. Destroyed that band.
And that was the downfall of that band.
Destroyed that band. I don't think that Tommy Shaw, and I think James Young was the bass player, or the other guitar player. They didn't even want to record Babe. They thought it was too soft, too lousy, and it ended up being a big hit for them. But again, they thought of themselves as a hard rock band from Chicago.
They had their moment in the 70s, right? I think they had their moment in the 70s. Renegade was a big song, and Babe was a big song, and but then they got Dennis DeYoung started having more say over Tommy Shaw. I guess he was pushing it and wanted to put on these big, elaborate productions, kind of like Bono, except Bono with no style, like Dennis DeYoung. And I think he eventually did a Broadway play some years back. He did something with Broadway, I think, and which was always his his goal, it seems. That's kind of comparative to with Genesis,
with
Peter
Phil
Gabriel.
Collins,
Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel was all about the theatrics in Genesis, all about the theatrics. One of these big, elaborate shows, and and in the 70s when Genesis was, when did they evolve? When did they first come up? Mid 70s, early 70s?
I would say early 70s.
Yeah. And the he would just do these stage shows, and it wasn't really going well with the rest of the guys, just like in Styx, and he goes on his own, and they both become, mega stars. Well, I was never a big Peter Gabriel fan. He had good songs in the 80s, Games Without Frontiers, and the classic song from the movie, is it In Your Eyes?
In Your Eyes, off of the So album.
Yeah, actually, what's his name is holding in the movie there. In the movie, he's holding the radio Cusack over his head, and
John Cusack.
Yeah, John Cusack, exactly. So that was one of those, moments for that song. That actually probably put that song in a much higher spot than it maybe deserved. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's a great song. That whole album, the So album from Peter Gabriel, was brilliant. I mean,
got album of the year, right?
One hit after another. I mean,
video of the year with Sledgehammer.
Yeah, fantastic.
The
first couple of solo albums for Peter Gabriel, you know what they were called? Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
You know what the second one was called? Peter Gabriel. The third one was called Peter Gabriel.
It wasn't how original for an artistic guy.
It wasn't even 1, 2, or 3. Actually, talk about artistic guy. And the third one is, since you actually made reference of it, the third Peter Gabriel album with Games Without Frontiers. Some people talk about the acrimony that may exist between Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. That's not really the case. They actually worked together thereafter. As a matter of fact, Peter Gabriel was the drummer on the third album. And get this, here's a little known fact that you may not know, Scott, that I'm going to let you know right now. On that third album, with Games Without Frontiers, and Biko was on that record, Peter Gabriel was the creative guy on it. He would not let Phil Collins use a hi-hat or cymbals on any of that record.
Interesting. That's that's got to be tough for a drummer.
Couldn't use hi-hats or the cymbal on the entire record, which really kind of added to the overall kind of weird tone to that record.
Yeah, no doubt. I never knew that. That's why we have these conversations, buddy.
That's a piece of information that you can go out and make absolutely zero with. like the rest of our information. Yeah, maybe you'll get some hot sauce out of it.
We're doing this podcast and we're not even looking to monetize. Like, this is where we think.
It's for the love of the music.
And who knows? Maybe someday lightning will strike in the right place, and somebody picks this up. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You never know.
You never know. All right, let's move on to another band. I kind of put them in the same light as Styx.
I was going to guess who it was.
Go ahead.
Foreigner.
Oh, dude, we got some connectedness going, buddy. Or I gave a really good hint.
Well, I mean, if you said that they were in the same light, I mean, they unfortunately kind of are in the same category, right? There's a lot of people that in the late 70s, they called it arena rock.
Yeah.
Or kind of corporate rock. And it played to the 18 to 25-year-old male demographic. And they put a bunch of bands in that category, and some of them really unfairly. So Styx was in that category. Foreigner was in that category. Boston was in that category.
Yeah.
Bad Company was in that category.
Unfortunately, it was in that category. They didn't deserve that category. But
no, some of them, really.
Well, arena
really
rock, but they were a step above the other bands, I think. I think Bad Company was a step above those other bands. But
Foreigner
they were in that.
Foreigner was a great band, I thought. I thought that they had a lot of great hits.
If I was to tell you, gun to your head, pick a band, who you taking?
What, between Foreigner and Styx?
I think that's who we're talking about, Jackie boy. Welcome to the show.
You don't have to put a gun to my head. There's no contest. I choose Foreigner any day.
See.
Oh, see, you would go Styx?
See. No, I said Bad Company. Did I say, who did I say? Styx?
You said Styx. Welcome to the show, dickhead.
Oh, I just got stuck in my own trap. Oh.
No, Bad Company, whole other category. I mean, come on.
That's who I was talking about, was Bad Company.
I think that Bad Company was the first band signed to Swan Song Records, Led Zeppelin's label.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and listen to the tape. I believe I was talking about Bad Company, and you were the one who wasn't in the game. So we'll pick this up next podcast.
I
think we should go to the tape. We're going to go to the tape. So.
I said between Foreigner and Styx. You said, yeah, welcome to the show.
Oh, because I very rarely pay attention to what you're saying, so I'm just waiting to ask the next question.
So wait a minute, before we move on.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Foreigner, which, by the way,
yeah,
Foreigner was on tour this summer. There's not one original member of Foreigner in Foreigner.
Exactly. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but it's not unusual. At one time, there were two versions of the Temptations that were touring at the same time. At one time, there were three versions of the Platters or the Coasters, one of those two that were touring it. So it's not unprecedented, but Foreigner I thought was a much better band than Styx.
Yes.
Their first album I thought was great. Cold as
Great
Ice.
album.
Feels like the first time.
Yes.
Stargazer, Star Rider.
Yeah.
Star Rider.
Sorry. Yeah.
But then you get into Dirty White Boys, Head
Long,
Game.
Long Way from Home. Is that the name of it?
Yeah. Blue Monday.
Wasn't Long, Long Way from Home? Wasn't that their first hit off that album?
No. I think that Cold as Ice so feels like the first time with the first Foreigner singles.
Cold as Ice on the first album?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
I thought
yep.
Long, Long Way from Home, if that's even the name of the song.
I think it's called Blue Monday.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It's, you know what, that is one of those songs where you just know it as that.
Long Way from Home?
Yeah, because that's what stands out. And groups that name bands like Led Zeppelin's infamous for writing songs and then coming up with names like Dire Maker and the Lemon Song. It's like the Lemon Song actually is kind of relevant to the name, right?
It's not Dire Maker, it's Jamaica.
It's Dire Maker.
It's Jamaica. It's a reggae song. Jamaica. You get it?
It's Dire Maker.
So anyway, getting back to Foreigner. So Foreigner, good hard rock band, and then they take that left-hand turn.
Yeah.
They come out with Foreigner 4, with Jukebox Hero, Urgent,
Big
and
hit.
then I've Been Waiting for a Girl Like You, with a, hey, okay, a ballad, but then
But it was a big hit.
I think the next record was called Agent Provocateur that had I Want to Know What Love Is. This is Casey Kasem.
No.
And this song goes out to Scott McLean. It's Foreigner with I Just Want to Know What Love Is.
Who dedicated it, Casey? Who dedicated it?
Scott writes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they saw the money in that. And at that time that they were raking in the cash, And it was the thing. It was what was going around in music at that time, Yeah. It doesn't mean I like it, But didn't they have a little conflict over that direction? Within the band?
Well, Lou Gramm ended up leaving the band, but I think I'm not sure if it was creative differences. I'm sure that played into it, but I think he actually got sick.
Yeah. I just read something recently on Lou Gramm and Foreigner and just the damage that was done between him and the other bandmates. It's like he'll never go back. He said he'll never go back to Foreigner again. It was something like that. I read it recently.
Well, I mean, Foreigner was Mick Jones and Lou Gramm and, those other guys.
And those other guys, yeah.
Those other guys. It's like Matchbox 20. Rob Thomas and those other guys, they really rock.
Well, they fall into that category of the lead singer is, of groups like Matchbox 20 or Counting Crows,
Yeah.
It's like, so what do you think of Counting Crows?
Love some of their stuff, completely indifferent to some of their stuff. Sometimes Adam can come across a little whiny for me.
Yeah.
I love there's a live version. So last week we were talking about Unplugged. There's an Unplugged version of A Long December that I just love.
Long December is a really good song.
It's a great song.
It's a really good song.
But he gets a little bit too poetic. He gets lost in that. Sometimes the music takes a backseat to his poetry.
Well, he got caught up in that Hollywood scene. Everyone, actresses and models were looking to get a rock star. Yeah, it all started like with Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson, and Billy Joel and Christy Brinkley were before that, and John Mellencamp and
Rick Ocasek.
Rick Ocasek. So and he got caught up in that. What about
wait a minute, Lyle Lovett?
Yeah, I don't know what she was thinking. Julia Roberts and Lyle Lovett.
How many times do you think that has been said about our wives?
Hey, I don't know about you, but I'm a good looking man.
You're
say it.
You and Lyle love it. You're right up there, brother.
All right, you're back. Jack is back. All right. That's a couple of touches there. This is an interesting group. Live. Right?
You know what? Same kind of same type of category. And it's funny that you actually mentioned them because I've seen live twice, and both times they were on the bill with Counting Crows.
Really?
Both times.
Look at that. Interesting that I put them back to back, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Who
was the opening act?
One time I saw them, they were at Woodstock 99. And then the next time I saw them live was the opening act. And there was probably somebody on before them, right? And I think that the way they did it on that tour is they alternated.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that happen.
So
because I would say that live should be I would think that they would be the main act over Counting Crows.
I
much
think
better band, much better sound.
Yeah, but I think that live in the States were probably more popular. Because of Long December, because of Mr. Jones.
You mean Counting Crows?
Counting Crows, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Counting Crows.
Shock went up for me.
Who did I say?
You said live.
Oh.
You can go to the tape. We'll go to the tape.
Live, I agree. I think they were a better band. They were certainly a harder band.
Lucchini's Juice is probably my favorite song by them. That video, if you ever want to watch a great video with a great song, Lucchini's Juice is a fantastic song, and the video is very interesting. Very tense. Yes.
Well, there's a lot of tension in that song.
A lot of their songs have that tension in it. Yeah. But that's a heavy song. That's definitely a heavy song.
Yeah.
Scott, the IT guy, welcome to the show. I know he's been watching from the beginning. He said, Jack, you look a little sleepy tonight.
I am a little sleepy tonight.
You need nappy? You want to do your nappy time?
I'm just about ready to sign off and put on a little Counting Crows and go sleepy time.
All right, let's what about the Scorpions?
I love the Scorpions.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? Like, how could you not like the Scorpions?
Underrated band.
Greatest Germans in the world.
Underrated band. I mean, look, what you talk about, good videos. Big City Nights, the live version of Big City Nights that they used to play on MTV. I loved that song.
Yeah.
But The Zoo, great song.
Yeah.
Rock You Like a Hurricane, unbelievable.
That's a classic. That is an absolute classic song. That's up in the upper echelons of songs. Rock You Like a Hurricane. That's up there with AC/DC's Back in Black, I think.
Just a classic riff.
Oh, and just hard driving and no pretentiousness to it. It's just right in your face, like Back in Black, right? Right in your face.
But like Foreigner and Styx, they took that left-hand turn, and I think their biggest hit was that ballad. Do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, I saw the video. Well, I stopped watching the video after the 500th time.
It was the whole, Cold War song. It was called Winds of Change.
Winds of Change. Yeah, Winds of Change. Yeah, rock ballad.
Yeah.
Happy
birthday, Jen Locke.
Ooh. Oh, happy birthday, Jen Locke. Yes. Buy yourself a pizza. Is that a gift if you tell someone to buy it for themselves? We'll pay you back, Jen. Send Jack the bill. He's closer.
We've been talking a lot about pizza and paying people back, haven't we? Inside joke.
A little off the air conversation for the listeners and viewers.
Inside joke there.
Yeah.
So you got another one? You got another?
Yeah. I got a few that these are kind of those interesting kind of bands. Let's go back. Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh man, when I was a kid, I loved Grand Funk Railroad.
All right, when you think of Grand Funk Railroad, what's the first song that comes to your mind?
We're an American band.
There you go. Right, that is an imprint right there.
I had that on 45. It was on clear gold vinyl.
Oh, I think I had that.
It was a treasure, man.
That's a memory right there, buddy. I think I had that because we all had our collections of 45s.
But you know what? There's a band that has not like aged well, in time, and it's not that they haven't aged well, but like their music just doesn't get played like it used to get played.
What's the second song you think about when you think about Grand Funk?
I'm Your Captain.
I would say Locomotion.
The Locomotion, the good cover,
Yeah, it was a big hit for them.
Carole King wrote it.
Yeah.
Carole King wrote it. That was a big hit for them. But what about Some Kind of Wonderful?
Great song, right?
Yep.
It's one of those, if you got their greatest hits, I don't think you'd have a problem with it.
No.
I don't think it's something you'd listen to every day necessarily, but you'd have no problem listening to it.
I think that if any one of our listeners went down to, the casinos in Connecticut or down in Everett and whatnot, and Grand Funk was playing, and somebody gave any of our listeners tickets and they said, okay, let's go. I think they would be shocked and surprised at how many of their songs they actually know.
And we've touched on that in past episodes about certain bands. You just forget. And at one point, they held the world record for loudest concert. Grand Funk did.
Yeah.
I don't know decibels, but it was insane decibels.
They were a massive, massive band in the early 70s.
Yes.
Stadiums.
They were a stadium band. Yes.
They were playing to the same size audiences like the Rolling Stones were.
Yeah.
But they just didn't have that longevity.
Well, they kept putting out hits, and then who knows? Internal problems. It just ran its course. Music changed. You wonder why bands like that just all of a sudden stopped.
Well, Mark Farner, who was the principal songwriter and most of the time the lead singer, kind of did his own thing and for a little bit, had a couple of solo records. They didn't really go anywhere. Mel, I don't remember his last name, the bass player, just kind of lived off of his money. And the drummer still actually plays drums for guess who?
The drummer from Grand Funk still plays the drums for...
It's not a band. It's not a band. It's one of your favorite live performers.
One of my favorites. It's not Morrissey.
No, it wouldn't be Morrissey.
No, I was going to say. One of my favorite live performers. Interesting.
So the drummer, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I probably have one of their albums right here. I could probably look it up. But he was the one. He sang vocals on American Band. We're an American Band. And when Grand Funk kind of broke up, and they come out of retirement occasionally and play, but when the Grand Funk is not playing, he plays drums for. You ready?
I'm ready.
Bob Seger.
Ah, okay. Is he an official part of the Silver Bullet Band, or?
I think so.
Really?
I think so.
Like from the beginning?
No.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't an original member.
But he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I think that the Silver Bullet Band is kind of a rotating cast of characters.
I had that roller coaster relationship with Bob Seger. I loved his music. Then I didn't. He jumped the shark with the 48 Hours, song from the movie 48 Hours with Eddie
Break
Murphy.
down, take
Or was that
down.
Beverly Hills Cop? I don't
think
know.
it was Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. Yeah, that he kind of jumped the shark with that one. It was really outside of his zone, you know.
Yeah.
But then you know, you just come back to appreciate a bit through all that roller coaster ride with him. I never stopped loving the greatest one of the greatest live songs or double songs in rock music history. Traveling Man and
Beautiful Loser.
yeah. Buddy, talk about just a perfect moment. When they recorded that, it was just so perfect how they transitioned through songs and it picked right up. And it was just, to this day, it's such a great, great live recording.
Bob Seger is the man live. He's never. I've seen him a bunch of times, and he never disappoints.
Renee Nolte says the same thing. She said he is always awesome live. Yes,
he is always awesome live, and that live Bullet record is fantastic.
Yes,
you know, it still holds up today. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. You know, when you talk about live albums, people talk about the Who live at Leeds, and they talk about Frampton Comes Alive, and they talk about Cheap Trick live at Budokan. Rarely do you hear Live Bullet mentioned, and it absolutely should be because it's better than a lot of those.
So we saw the concert that was recorded in the Boston Gardens.
Yeah, that was on the 9
Tonight. Yeah, that was 1982.
I think 82.
Yeah, 82. Yeah. And I've told this story before, and we were probably together. We're on floor seats, and he had to cancel a previous show in Boston, and he came back and he apologized. He was sick or something. He got sick. And he played a couple songs, and the place was just insane, right? He was at his peak. You know, people were waiting to see him. And after the second song, he just kind of stops. He says, okay, listen, do yourselves a favor. Have a seat because this is going to be a long night.
Yep.
Which in turn made everybody go even crazier. Nobody sat in their seat. I mean, how could you? You know?
Yeah.
Where was the other half of that recorded? The other half of that was recorded in Philadelphia.
There
was a couple of tracks outside of Boston that are on that album.
Yeah, I would say, you know, it's either Detroit or Philly.
Yeah, one of those cities that's not Boston. But
Boston has it's more than its fair share of live albums.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And to think that the Boston Garden was pretty horrendous now that you know acoustically. But you know, back then no one cared. You know, no one cared. And that's why they would bring these things into the studio and you know, put some production value into it.
I don't know the stats. I don't know if anybody's ever tabulated this, but I think that if you looked at the place where most live albums were recorded in Boston, it was at the Orpheum.
Orpheum. Yeah.
The Orpheum Theater, U2, the Allman Brothers Band, you know, I mean, there's the Police,
the Alarm,
the Pretenders. There's a lot of them that are up there.
By the way, again, it's a theater, so it's acoustically sound, you know.
Well, for years and years, people regarded it as some of the best acoustics in the country.
Yeah, yep. At the end of that dead end, right off of Boston Common,
Hamilton Place
had some experiences there, buddy.
Do you remember every concert that we went to? You looked down at your ticket; it had the ticket price, plus it had $1 for restoration fee.
I never noticed that.
They were restoring the Orpheum Theater for forever. Do you know that is the oldest continuously operated theater in the country?
I am not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit.
That goes so far back that Charles Dickens actually read A Christmas Carol from that stage.
Wow. Look at that. That's amazing, right?
Yeah. By the way, the Seeger album...
was he in the mezzanine or was he in the orchestra? Do you know?
Who?
Oh, he was on stage. That's right.
He was on stage.
He was on stage. Okay.
He was on stage. Unlike Bono, the first time that I saw U2 with Phil Kelly, May 6th, 1983, Bono climbed up on the monitors and then he was walking across the balcony.
Ah, that's where Eddie Vedder got his climbing the walls.
Oh, yeah.
And then, except Bono didn't jump into the crowd or fall into the crowd.
No, he did not.
Which I got to give Eddie Vedder pounds of respect for doing that. That is a trust fall from hell.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting group. Very interesting group, as a matter of fact.
All right, let me guess.
You will not get this, but go ahead.
Supertramp.
No.
Okay.
A little more modern than Super. But let's talk about Supertramp, right? If the lead singer from Supertramp,
Roger Hodgson,
had a whole different band, would you know the difference?
No.
That's one of those bands where his voice is the band. You can mix and match the guitarist, the drummer. His voice is that band.
Very distinct.
Yes.
Very distinct. Now, he was not the only one that sang in that band, but you're right. You're right.
No, hold on. There it is. The Train.
Yep.
Every episode. No, he wasn't, but he had. I love that. He had the biggest hits, I think.
Yeah, you love it. Wait till you hear it at 4 a.m.
I never will. I never will.
We're not going to have a sleepover.
No, thank you. Come on down, because it's a lot warmer down here than it's going to be up there. But yeah, how long is that train? He had the biggest hits.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Give me a song where he didn't sing that was on the radio. Like where somebody else sang for Supertramp.
I don't think that Roger Hodgson sings lead on Goodbye Stranger.
Huh. You might be right with that. Yeah.
I think he sings on the chorus.
He sings in the chorus. He definitely is in the chorus. Yeah.
But I don't think he sings lead on that.
Goodbye Stranger is a good song. It's one of their better songs.
It's a good song.
Another group that if you heard their greatest hits and there's 10, say 11 songs on it, 6 of them are going to be winners. And like we always say, if you bought an album and it had 3 or 4 good songs on it, that was a good album.
Yeah, I mean, Breakfast in America was a massive album for them.
Oh, that's a classic album. That's a masterpiece. That was their masterpiece.
They had some great stuff. I liked some of the deeper cuts that they had. Like, did you ever like the song School?
I don't think I heard it. Is it on? I don't remember it if I did.
Yeah, you've definitely heard it. There's no question about it that you've heard it. And believe it or not, I'll tell you, when I'm painting, when I'm pulling out records, one of my favorite live albums to play is Supertramp Live in Paris. Is actually really good.
Okay. All right. Good recommendation. The Violent Femmes. Taking a left turn here.
Yeah. Quirky. Like them. Don't love them.
Do you turn the songs off if you hear it on the radio?
Blister in the Sun, I absolutely do. Just because, I mean, it's a great song, but it's just so dreadfully overplayed.
Yeah, that is an overplayed song, but it's still a good song.
Yeah,
I think it's still a good song.
It's a good song, but I mean, so is Sweet Home Alabama, but I don't listen to that on the radio anymore either.
I had a chance to see the Violent Femmes and Colin Hay right down the street from me, and there's an amphitheater. And I had a chance to see them, and we had a drop-in guest or two.
Oh, no.
Right before, yeah. And it was kind of like, and I dropped the ball and I missed it.
That's too bad. You know who the good one in that lineup is?
Colin Hayes.
Deb and I saw Colin Hayes. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever heard his solo album, Man at Work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Some really great stuff on there.
Is he sick? Didn't he have
He had prostate cancer.
Prostate cancer, right?
Yeah. He's gotten through it. As a matter of fact, the last time that we saw him, he talked a little bit about it.
What about Mike, lead singer from The Alarm?
Mike, not Mike Andrews.
No, I can't read it. It's right on the tip of my tongue, but he was touring for a while. Then he got sick also. I think he had cancer. Then he came back. Then I think he got sick again. Yeah. But another one who, he could pull off those acoustic, those acoustic sets of Alarm songs.
Yeah. I think underrated, and I think unfairly compared to, a lot of people called them a U2 ripoff.
Well, they were supposed to be, if I remember correctly, they were touted as the next U2.
Yeah, but so were a lot of bands back then.
Yeah.
But I thought that they had some great songs. They definitely had an edge to them. Mike Peters, that's it. Good call. Yeah. But he had a kind of a distinct vocal style that I don't think was really accepted commercially, aside from, Rain in the Summertime. But that Strength album is fantastic.
Rain in the Summertime is probably my favorite Alarm song.
It's a great tune.
A great song.
I mean, I love Strength. I think is a great one. And then, the early stuff like Where Were You Hiding When the Storm Broke?
Yeah.
In Absolute Reality.
68 Guns.
Yeah. There's some great Rescue Me.
Rescue
song.
Me is a great song, man. Yeah. See, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
That's a great song. But I have the album that was recorded live at the Orpheum the night you and I went to see them. It was a record store day release 2 years ago. And I couldn't believe that of all live albums for them to release, it was that one. Because that's a great story for you and me. That was a great night. Very interesting night, running into them when they were like, they were like our age. They weren't much older.
They signed my Strawberries Records and Tapes paycheck.
And you couldn't cash it.
I was like, I'll have them give me another one. It was, look, to be honest with you, I think it was like for $42 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, the bus stopped right on Tremont Street, and they got off and started walking down toward the front of the theater. And I think we looked at each other, we're like, is that the Alarm? Like, and four of them, and the road manager trying to herd them like cats.
Yeah.
Because there was probably 20 of us, 20 people just kind of milling around there before the show. Pretty interesting.
Lads, the entrance is around the corner. Get back on the fucking bus.
Yeah, we're not.
Get back on the fucking bus, will you?
I would actually blame the bus driver for that one. Because he just stopped right in front of the place.
I think you and I were some of the only people that actually knew who they were, because most people were there to see the Pretenders.
Yeah, and we just looked at, we were like, is that the Alarm? Like, you couldn't miss Mike Peters' hair.
Yeah, they all had the
spiky
teased up hair.
Yeah, yeah. Before it was called hairbands.
Yeah, we kind of had teased up hair at that time too.
I think so. I think so. I had the
days.
10X slicking it back, and yeah. Should the B-52s be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
Right?
No question.
Right?
Very, very influential band. We've talked a little bit about this before, but John Lennon attributes the B-52s as his re-entry point back into music. And this isn't a good comparison, but this is what he said. He kind of went to Yoko and said, look, music is catching up to you. Not John Lennon, Yoko Ono.
Yeah. Yeah, except the B-52s did it with rhythm and style, and Yoko is just screaming like a lunatic that she is.
I don't know why the B-52s haven't earned that right. I think that they deserve a lot more respect. I think Love Shack hurts them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think that their later albums suffered a little bit, you know, but those first couple of albums were just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How many times did you play the Yellow album, their debut?
I still do. You know, I still do. It's a classic album.
I remember I think the first time I ever heard that record was down in Jim Hurley's basement.
Really?
That was a staple down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the time that was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, I saw them at the Club Casino in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire.
You know what? Deb and I saw them at the Club Casino like 2 years ago.
Oh, maybe really? Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And they were great. They were great.
Yeah. I was right at the stage where I wasn't supposed to be, of course. Had a table. I was sitting at a table with total strangers right at the foot of the stage. And what's the stage? Is only like, 4 feet off the ground or something back then? I don't know if they've redone it since then. But
what did you just sit down and say, "Hi, I'm Scott"?
No. We had fake IDs, and what happens is our friend Jim McDonald, rest in peace, they didn't believe his fake ID. So they just give us tickets back, right?
Yeah.
And so we take Jim around the corner. I find a pair of sunglasses on the ground with one lens missing, right? And Jim had this thing. He would take his T-shirt and like kind of ride it up over his head and move it back and forth and pull it, and his hair would statically stand straight up, right?
He looked like a member of the Alarm.
Yeah. So we go to another line and we just give him the IDs, and there was, I think, 12 or 15 of us that came up, that went up there from Winthrop. And the guy looks at Jim Mac's ID, and looks at him, looks at the ID, and he's just like, all right, whatever. Just let him in. Then he looks at our tickets. He goes, you two are sitting in two totally different places. And I was like, yeah. And he looks at my ticket. He goes, you're up front. So the guy that originally kicked us, that told us we couldn't come in, took the next ticket that was given to him because he already tore mine, gave it back, gave me a full ticket or something, and then I just ended up at that table with, I don't know how I did it. I was drunk anyways, but yeah, once again, right there at the front of the stage where I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah. Speaking of being right up front, Johnny Cash just joined us.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hopefully he's still on, but I still remember, I think it was me, you, and him right up front for ZZ Top.
Yeah, that's right. He was with me at the when we charged our way up to U2, and then he bailed somehow, like toward the end. He's like, I'm going to go back to the seats. So he could have been up there with me. He would have been more of a legend than he already is.
He could have put the edge on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Guys could have had chicken fights on stage.
He's still there. He's still there. Yeah.
All right.
Let me do it. What I'm going to give you this. Let me figure out how to word this. What do Adam and the Ants and Van Halen have in common? Like, not a band member, but just think about Adam and the Ants and think about Van Halen, and what are they kind of parallel each other.
The only thing that I could possibly think of is their attire.
Nah, well, close. So Adam and the Ants were probably my favorite new wave band. That first album is a really good album. You know, everyone thinks of Adam Ant with Desperate but Serious, and Goody Two Shoes. But that's when he was solo, right?
And Kiss, right?
Yeah. But when he was with the Ants, they were pretty heavy. They had very heavy sound, right?
Well, very, very percussive. A lot of drum.
Yes, and heavy guitar, reverb. A lot, and I like reverb, right?
Yeah.
Careful there, buddy. So what happens is Malcolm McLaren becomes the manager and basically talks the Ants into kicking out Adam Ant and brings in
Sammy Hagar.
No. Annabella Lewin.
Oh, from Bow Wow Wow.
And they turned into Bow Wow Wow. So if you listen to I Want Candy, and it sounds just like Adam and the Ants, right? Because it is. It's the Ants.
Very percussive.
Now you got Van Halen, David Lee Roth, big deal, big lead man. Kind of gets booted from the band, right? Not kind of. He did get booted from the band. Just like Adam Ant, they go off and start their solo career with pretty campy shit. Like, not the normal Adam and the Ants and Van Halen. They go off and do, like Adam Ant did, Goody Two Shoes. David Lee Roth does California Girls.
Yeah,
right?
but whoa.
I'm not comparing the songs.
No,
I'm just saying.
David Lee Roth, if I remember the timeline, correctly, was still kind of in Van Halen when he did that EP.
I don't know, man, because he was ready to make a movie. He might have technically been with them, but they never did anything again.
No, they didn't until.
So he was pretty much out. I mean, because the rule was no one does outside work in Van Halen. That was the rule. Like, nobody does side projects. But Eddie Van Halen, that's why he didn't get paid for the Michael Jackson solo in Thriller. He didn't get paid for that. He did Quincy Jones a favor, but that was a set rule in that band. No one does side projects.
Even though Eddie did side projects. Even beyond Michael Jackson, he actually did a record with Brian May.
Right. So, of course, Eddie Van Halen was Eddie Van Halen, though.
Of course, he could do what he wants.
He could do what he wants.
By the way, this conversation is somewhat timely. Did you hear that David Lee Roth publicly announced his retirement from music this week?
Oh, thank you, dear God in heaven. Thank you to the rock gods. Thank you, Satan. Thank everybody for that.
Well, you're right. He's not a guy that has aged well. His voice waved by a long, long time ago. I think the thing that's a little bit disturbing about it is that his statement, his retirement statement, was a little bit cryptic, but he was alluding to him being really sick. He was alluding to not being that far behind Eddie.
Now, I don't wish that on him, of course. If that's the case, then that's a sad thing because he's one of those guys that should have just stayed away. His legend would have been immense if he had just stayed away. Okay, you did your California Girls and you did your album and you had your moment. Just walk away, dude. But you came back looking like an old Jewish guy from a deli in New York. And his shtick was stupid and campy, and the dude never shuts up.
No, he doesn't.
Oh my Lord. An interview with him is just like the interviewer just asks one question and then takes a dump. And he comes back and David Lee Roth's still talking. Like, and the room could be empty and he's still answering the question and he's still, David Lee Roth. I was backstage. Shut up.
He's like the king of Facebook.
No, the king of Facebook is funny. David Lee Roth isn't. That's the problem.
Yeah, he did not hold up well. But I'll tell you, even when David Lee Roth was with Van Halen, he used to drive me nuts. I just wanted him to sing the fucking songs. Just get out there and do your work. But he was always, shaking his ass, and he was the weak link in that band, and they knew that he was the weak link in that band. You know that before they did the first album that they were going to replace him.
Yeah,
they were actually going to boot David Lee Roth out of that band before the first album came out, and one of the people they were actually considering was Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's right. We talked about that. Yeah, but it's a good thing they didn't, because he was like Roger Daltrey to the Who. Okay, Pete Townsend said you got 3 geniuses in a lead singer. That's how he referred to Roger Daltrey. He said we had 3 geniuses in a lead singer. Townsend was never impressed with Daltrey until Tommy.
Yeah, it's true.
He said that's when he found his groove.
Voice.
That's when he found his voice. That's when he found his swagger. I mean, but before that, Pete Townsend was just like, we're just gonna tolerate him.
Yeah, but you know what? The Who's not the Who. You have that chemistry, right? David Lee Roth, not the most technically adept vocalist. Roger Daltrey didn't contribute much beyond his singing. He couldn't really write songs. He didn't play an instrument like the other guys in the band. And Pete Townsend is right. Pete Townsend was a genius.
So was John Entwistle and Keith Moon.
Yeah, they were all geniuses and absolutely at the top of their game. And the best at what they did in their own respect. And yeah, but that band is not that band without Roger Daltrey.
And Van Halen would not have been as big as they were with Sammy Hagar at the beginning.
Trust me when I tell you this, that having read enough about the Who, and in particular Pete Townsend, if he could have had as big a career solo, there would not have been a Who after a little while. He never would have went back to Roger. Those guys have never gotten along.
Right. And that goes Keith Richards, Mick Jagger. Do they really get along? They tolerate each other. Doesn't mean you have to like each other. And that's like the beauty of Pearl Jam. I heard this, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20, whatever, that when they're off tour, they don't even talk to each other.
Yeah, it's true.
Like Eddie Vedder has his own friends,
Yeah.
They just all do their own thing.
It's balanced.
What's the guitar player's name?
Mike McCready or Stone Gossard.
Stone Gossard, yeah. He's like, I have my own group of friends. We meet, it's business. That's how they like each other.
Yeah, and not only do they have their own group of friends, but they all have their own side projects as well. So they have their own outlets,
Yeah.
So they try to do what they can and to save their best material for the Pearl Jam records, because that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
But, I've seen Stone Gossard at Fenway Park in front of 30 or 40,000 people. And then 6 months later, I saw him at the Paradise in front of 800 people.
But he's not the main event. He's not the headliner. He's a backup guy, right? Because I don't think Stone Gossard is pulling in 30,000 people to see him.
He is absolutely not. As a matter of fact, he's probably the mellowest, laid-back guy in the band. Mike McCready is doing scissor splits and kicking off of the amps and playing blazing guitar riffs.
Yeah,
just amazing lead. And Stone is by and large, he's a rhythm player. I mean, he can play lead, and he does play lead, but by and large, he plays rhythm. But he was the principal songwriter in that band, certainly before Eddie Vedder came along. And I think they talk about it in their documentary, that once you get to the third album, they were like, hey, what's going on here? Eddie all of a sudden became the creative force in that band, but initially it was Stone Gossard.
Right. Renee Nolte, friend of the show, commented in, David Lee Roth fed into the commercial TV look. You can't compare him to Roger Daltrey. We weren't comparing them in the sense of talent or anything like that. We're just comparing them in the sense of the band wouldn't have been the band without David Lee Roth in his time and Roger Daltrey in his time. Like I said, he was good, but he didn't impress Pete Townsend. Has high standards. But Roger Daltrey is good. If you listen to that My Generation, that whole impromptu generation, that wasn't written into that. he did that impromptu, and it just worked, and it worked. So, all right, listen, we're coming up on an hour, buddy. We're actually going to go over. So let's finish it off with This Day in Music.
This Day in Music.
Yeah, This Day in Music. And today, we're recording this podcast on October 6th. So, on October 6th, 1967, the Doors appeared at the Cal State Gymnasium, Los Angeles, California, with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and the Sunshine Company. Yikes. Yikes. But even better than that, on the same day in 1967, Pink Floyd appeared at the Miss Teenage Brighton contest in Brighton, England, playing the musical interlude during the contest. Double yikes? Oh, shit. Right? On this day in music in 1972, during sessions at RCA Studios in New York City, David Bowie recorded the Gene Genie, which became the lead single from his 1973 classic album. It says album, but I'm going to say classic album, Aladdin Sane. The track spent 13 weeks on the UK charts, peaking at number 2, making it Bowie's biggest hit to date. The line, "He's so simple-minded, he can't drive his module," would later give the Scottish band,
Big Country.
No, Simple Minds. You're not even.
Simple Minds.
You check out like 3 minutes before the show ends. Let me read that again. He's so simple-minded, he can't drive his module, would later give the Scottish band Simple Minds their name. On
Simple
this day,
Minds.
Where's the train? Bring the train back. It's more interesting. On this day in 1979, Led Zeppelin's Into the Outdoor was at number 1 on the U.S. album chart. 6 versions of the cover were released, each depicting the same bar scene, photographed from one of 6 different angles.
All of them covered up by a brown paper bag.
Which is pretty great marketing. Great marketing.
Yeah, I mean, Led Zeppelin had some, interesting album covers. I mean, they had that kind of interactive thing with Led Zeppelin 3 with the wheel.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Yep. On this day in 2010, a set of John Lennon's fingerprints was seized by the FBI from a New York memorabilia dealer who intended to sell them for $100,000 minimum bid. The prints were taken at New York Police Station in 1976 when Lennon applied for permanent U.S. residence. The Bureau believed the card was still government property and was investigating how it landed in private hands. Cha-ching! Someone got paid for those.
Bummer.
On this day in 2011, this is the greatest this day in history I'll ever read. On this day in 2011, Starship's We Built This City was named Worst Song of the 80s. I gotta say, worst song ever. In a poll by Rolling Stone magazine. The Final Countdown by the Swedish band Europe came in second, and Lady in Red by Krista Berg was third. What? Also making the top 5 were Wham's Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go and The Safety Dance by Men Without Hats. Okay.
Don't let Deb hear you that. She loves the safety dance.
Oh, forget it.
She loves the safety dance.
It was a sad day on this day in 2019. Ginger Baker, the legendary drummer and co-founder who we just spoke about last week, my man, my drummer, co-founder of the rock band Cream, died at the age of 80. The drummer co-founded Cream in 1966 with Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce. The band released 4 albums before splitting up in 1968, after which he formed the short-lived band Blind Faith with Clapton, Steve Winwood, and Rick Grech. Baker, one of the most innovative and influential drummers in rock music, also played with Blind Faith, Hawkwind, and Fela Kuti in a long and varied career. In 1962, joined Alexis Korner's Blues Incorporated on the recommendation of Charlie Watts, because Charlie could swing, right? who was leaving to join the Rolling Stones and later gained early fame as a member of the Graham Bond organization alongside bassist Jack Bruce.
So yeah, I got to tell you something. You know what bums me out a little bit about the whole Charlie thing? I mean, look, he lived a good long life and he was a legend and whatnot. But there is a little expose on him, a tribute to him in Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
You know, and you have, artists that are paying tribute and it's a good 4 or 5 page spread. But how do you not give the death of Charlie Watts the cover?
Right.
And they didn't.
Right. Charlie Watts had a big car collection, big classic car collection, and didn't know how to drive. Didn't have a license.
Never learned how to drive.
Nope. And it was another very sad day. On this day in 2020, Eddie Van Halen, the revered guitarist and co-founder of the rock band Van Halen, died at the age of 65.
Can't even believe it's already been a year.
Yeah, I don't have to even read the rest of that because we all know what we're talking about there. Yeah, so that's it on this day in music, and there was no birthdays of any significance today that we want to talk about. So with that note, Scott the IT guy left, but he left his outro on the way out. Okay, I'm going to read. I always read his comment. No playing you gents off tonight, whatever that means. Got to run early, so make sure all the hot sauce lovers out there like and subscribe and try to have themselves a great night. See, at least when he leaves the outro. We have him trained now. We have him trained.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
Let me see. Renee. Oh yeah, it's Jen's birthday.
It's Jen's birthday.
That's right. She's of what significance? She's significant. So once again, birthdays today, Jen Locke.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Da-da-da. All right, listen, buddy. Great show. Great show. And I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank everyone for watching. Like I always say, you people, you listeners and viewers, are the engine that drives this machine. And without you, we would just be two idiots babbling to each other like we have for the last 45 years. So with that, Renee, we love you too, Renee. You know I love you, Renee. There you go, buddy. All right, listen, everybody. We'll see you next episode. And we're out. Jack, stay on.